Hey, welcome back to another episode of the MindShare podcast. This show is sponsored by Kits Keep in Touch Systems, a two-time international award-winning marketing suite for sales professionals, as well as REM Real Estate Magazine, Canada's premier monthly magazine for real estate professionals. You can learn more about all of our sponsors by visiting my site, mindshare101.com. And of course, while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle, so you can build more mindshare to get more market share. Plus, of course, learn more about our one-to-one coaching and keynote speaking. Today's episode is number 305. He is a second-generation realtor, real estate coach, and real estate trainer with a proven track record, as well as an international speaker. He knew early on in life that he was going to be an educator. He started in university with the goal of becoming a high school teacher. However, life took him in a different direction. His passion for learning and educating has never left, and as a result, he is a dedicated learner and a student of history, business, and life. His passion lies in high-level discussion around business strategies and helping agents and brokers build a bigger, better, high-quality, profitable real estate business. One of his favorite quotes comes by way of Jocko Willink. Getting better isn't about a hack or a trick or one change that you need to make. Getting better is a campaign. It's daily, weekly, and hourly fight against weakness, temptation, and laziness. It's a campaign of discipline, a campaign of hard work and dedication. It's about getting up early, going to bed late, and grinding out every second in between. Joining me on this episode of the MindShare podcast is realtor, coach, and my friend, Kelly Scar. Kelly, welcome back to the MindShare podcast, my man.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. This is going to be awesome.
It always is, man. You know, it's funny. I mean, most people are not privy to a lot of the conversations you and I have offline. Typically speaking, we you know, as much as we both value time and scheduling and how much needs to get done in a day, our conversations really do find their own rabbit holes. They're usually quite constructive and compelling. That being said, today, man, it's I know there's going to be a lot of value delivered here, so it's great to have you, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, that quote always gets me fired up. It's all about the grind. It's all about, you know, going to bed late and getting up early and really focusing in on the things that truly matter, right? And, you know, like I said this in a mastermind group the other day, the small little things that will move the needle is where we should really be focusing a lot of our time, energy, effort, and money, right?
I want to get into that stuff with you today because you're bang on, man. Like, I mean, It's funny when I was looking at the bio when it first came through, and I was looking at that particular quote, and I was sitting there going, like, yeah, I like that. I hadn't seen that before.
Yeah, well, Jocko was I absolutely love the Navy SEAL culture. I love reading about them. I love learning about them. I came across Jocko Willink a few years ago. Actually, I think it was 2017, if I remember correctly. He put out a video called "Good." And the whole premise of the video is if bad stuff is happening to you, there's always a good on the other side of it. Right. So it's like, you know, he says in the video specifically, he says, you know, didn't get the job you wanted. Great. More time to get better. Right. You got beat in training. Great. More time to learn, like those types of things. Right. So I came across him like 7 years ago, and I'll tell you a quick story. So I don't know if my wife will kill me on this one, but she in 2017, she was right at the end of finishing off her master's of counseling degree. She had to write this big test. It's called the EPPP. She had studied for months for this thing so that she could become a registered psychologist in the province of Alberta. And so there was a lot of build up to this. And finally she booked the exam date, and, you know, she went out, she wrote the exam. I went and reserved dinner, made reservations at a place for dinner, bought her flowers, came home with a couple of bottles of wine. I'd actually quit drinking in January of that year. So I hadn't had a drop of alcohol from January to September.
Hence the two bottles, not one. Okay.
I bought 2 bottles, not one. Yeah. And, so she goes out, she writes this test, and I get a call from her, and she's in tears. And I knew right there and then, like when when there was a massive pause on the other end of the phone, when I picked it up, I knew right there and then that it didn't go the way that she wanted it to. And so she came home, I canceled the reservation, put the flowers in a vase. I went out and got 2 more bottles of wine, and we sat down, and I had come across this video like only about a week earlier. And so I showed her the video, we watched the video, and we just bawled our eyes out. Right. And so whenever somebody, a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, a client of mine is going through a tough time, that's my go-to video. I'm like, here, watch this, because this will provide you some inspiration on moving through the issue that you've come across. There's always some good on the other side of things.
Man, that's a powerful message right there. And I think it's funny, actually. Okay. So interestingly enough, was on a coaching call earlier this afternoon or earlier this morning. And this particular client actually got a tattoo that says good. And actually now this comes right back. I believe that's exactly where it came from. And it's that whole thing of when he looks at it, he goes, wait a second, like, it's okay. Like, we're good. Like, there's something else coming from this. And so often we don't actually pay attention to the fact that things will be good, things will get bad, and things will get good again. Because in the moment of bad, we lament, we ride those sorrows, we rest in those laurels, and it is hard in those moments to say, hey, it's good. Learn something. You're going to grow from it. And so again, ironically enough, not just the fact that this particular person that was online with has that tattoo. Moreover, even today, we had that message together because he's in a really good place right now.
Right.
And naturally, when you're working together with people, especially coaching clients, you can fight a lot. People share a lot, which is amazing. And you get to be able to be a sounding board and somebody that you're going to problem solve with and everything else. And what I made mention to, I said, listen, you sound amazing today. Like absolutely fantastic. He goes, I feel really, really good. I said, good. Just understand that right now, let's start getting mentally prepared for the bad that's coming. He's like, whoa. Right. I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to paint negative. I'm not trying to say the sky is falling. What I'm saying to you, and I'm saying this to everybody, shit happens. If you can be mentally prepared when things are good and you can be ready for what may come, not to say I'm going to manifest it to come or I'm going to cause it to come, but again, shit happens.
Yeah.
Be ready for it, then what can you learn from it, right?
Markets across North America right now, with the exception of a few, like Calgary, for example, or Edmonton, really, anywhere in Alberta, to be honest with you. But every other market, it seems, in the country is it's depressed. It is flipped. And, I think for a lot of agents, they, especially in Ontario, probably didn't see this coming. Like it basically happened overnight. I know it certainly happened here in Kelowna basically overnight. There's the vast majority of the agents here in Kelowna have never seen a market like this before. Yeah. They've never seen a market where there's 10, 11, 12 months worth of inventory. Right. And I have conversations with my colleagues every day, and everybody's in the same position. But here's the thing. Having been through multiple ups and downs in the Calgary market where there was massive peaks and equally massive valleys, you had to get really, really good at the fundamentals. You had to get really, really good at doing what works and at the same time doing the work while mentally preparing yourself for the shit that you're going to have to wade through to get to the other end. Right. And it seems to me like there are a lot of agents out there today that, again, they haven't seen this type of market. They're allowing the market to dictate what they're going to do and how they're going to operate and dictate their mindset. And that's a huge mistake. That is a huge mistake. So yes, mentally prepare when things are good, but when things are really bad, when the market is really bad, either you're going to dictate what you're going to do and how your business is going to operate and how you're going to move the needle, or you're going to allow somebody else to do that for you. And that somebody else is the market. Because look, there are agents out there that are outperforming the market right now today. Yep. Even in a down market, there are agents out there that are absolutely killing it from where they were last year, 2 years ago. How is it that those agents are able to outperform the market where the vast majority are not? I think really it comes down to a lot of it has to do with mindset.
Oh, it totally has to do with mindset. So something, okay, let's use that as a jumping off point here, right? Just as we are setting the tone for the discussion here, what would you say that your daily battle, what does that mean to you when it comes to actual success, like in this game of real estate, that daily battle? What does that look like?
Love it. Great question. And, I recently hired a coach. It's been I haven't had a coach since like 2016, 2017. And, the fact that I'm a coach and I didn't have a coach is just mind boggling, right? For a guy that absolutely believes in it wholeheartedly, like for me not to have somebody was just, it's crazy to think that way. So about 3 weeks ago, I jumped in, and one of the things that my coach talks about religiously are the 5 daily non-negotiables. And this is something that you insert into your life and you follow it 100% to the letter, 7 days a week, 30 days in a month, 365 days in a year. There is no rest. There is no stopping.
So
right?
is this sorry, Kelly, is this like daily habits of like a successful
Daily
individual?
habits.
Okay. Yeah.
100% daily habits. And so I've got an app called Google Tasks. I like Google Tasks because number one, it's free. Number two, it ties into my Google Calendar, right? So when I open up my calendar, I can see all of the 5 daily non-negotiables that I have to go through. And so every time I accomplish something, I open up my task list and I check it off, right? So here they are. These are the 5 daily non-negotiables. I'll give these to you and your audience. Here's what they are in no particular order. Okay. 45-minute workout a day. Doesn't have to be in the gym. It can be on the side of a mountain hiking. It could be just walking through your neighborhood. Doesn't matter. As long as you're out there breaking a sweat and your minimum 45 days or 45 minutes. 10 pages of a nonfiction book. Okay. So we're talking about self-development. We're not talking about, reading the latest Clancy novel. We're talking about reading something like, Extreme Ownership from Jocko Willink, or The Compound Effect is actually a book that I picked up for the second time. Right. So I'm reading that again. Posting 3 times on social media per day. Right. So
does that include stories?
Stories, posts, reels, posting something up on Facebook, putting a video on TikTok, putting a video on YouTube, doesn't matter. It needs to be at least 3 posts 3 times or 3 posts per day. Okay. Next is reviewing your daily goals. So he put together this goal setting matrix that I walked myself through. So I looked ahead 25 years in advance and said, okay, where do I want to be in 25 years time? And then I looked at those 12 things that I wanted to accomplish. And I realized that there were 9 things right now today that I could be doing that will move me towards accomplishing those goals 25 years from now. And so then it's about chunking those things down into manageable bite-sized efforts. And so one of the things that I realized early on, or not like early on in this coaching relationship, is I put my goals out front and center. They're on my whiteboard. I write them down. They put them into a business plan. And I was just like every other agent that you and I coach, every other, entrepreneur, every other broker, owner, manager. I write it down. It goes in the desk and it doesn't see the light of day until maybe the end of the year or maybe next year. Right. So what I've done is
so wrong. You can't do that. So wrong.
Absolutely. So I put my daily goals. I typed them into the notes app. I screenshotted it. It's now my wallpaper. So I'm now forced to review my daily goals every time I open my phone. So it's not 2 or 3 times a day. Like I'm reviewing my goals 200 times a day. Yep. And I force myself to do it. I actually look at my goals. I go, oh, okay, where am I? Am I closer or am I further away? Right. The last one is 5 opens. And this is the one that I probably love the most. This is reaching out to 5 people per day, 7 days a week, 30 to 31 days in a month, 365 days a year.
Where are those 5 people coming from?
So they could be, if we're in context, they could be from your sphere of influence. They could be past clients. They could be agents that you've done business with in the past. They could be people, if you've got a great Instagram following, if you're posting really great content there and you're drawing in your potential next customer. They could be people on Instagram. They could be people through your Facebook feed. Doesn't really matter where they are, as long as those people are your potential next customer or have access to who your next potential customer could be. So if you think about this from the compound effect, from that perspective, 5 people a day, 7 days a week, that's 35 people a week. That's 140 people a month. That's 1,680 people per year. If you were to go off of just a standard 1 to 3% conversion rate, which is, I guess more the standard is about 1 to 1.5% for online lead conversion, do the math on that. Let's call it 2%. We'll round up. That's 33 extra transactions that you could potentially be looking at just by reaching out to 5 people a day.
Dude, okay, so hold on. Let's clarify this. First of all, the 5 people could be from your database. They don't need to be from your social media. Okay. And you just used a conversion rate that is from online leads.
Yep.
which I say all the time, especially the stuff that's paid, it's all garbage.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw it out there. I think that conversion rates actually could be a hell of a lot higher when you're talking to people you know. So it now takes that number that you
100%.
just said, and this is completely reinforcing what you said, by the way, not
Yep.
combating it, but that
100%.
33 comes up to 50, comes up to 60. Like your numbers climb, and it's the reach outs. It's that manual labor. Okay. Of seriously doing 5 reach outs. Hey, what's up? Hey, how are you? Hey, what's going on? Hey, nice puppy. Hey, where'd you get that? Hey, how was that? How was the vacation? Should I go there? Do you recommend? It could be anything.
That's right.
It's having the conversation, because what you're not saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is calling and pitching 5 people a day.
That's right. That's not what I'm talking about.
Totally
Right.
simple stuff. And when you break down the numbers, okay, and this is where, again, a lot of the way I operate, Kel, and a lot of the way we teach our coaching clients to operate, and where we've seen a ton of growth with our clients, is looking at those goals, first of all, right at the top of your day, first thing you do, and then constantly tapping into them every time you complete something. So this is where a question comes to say, when you are doing this with your 5 non-negotiables, excuse me, are you time blocking? Like, are you a time blocker? How do you prioritize which one of those are going to happen and when they're going to happen, so that you can just grow your business?
Yeah, I love what Darren Hardy says about this. And it's, this is all about creating new habits. And so, again, I was on a mastermind call the other day, and somebody had said, I really struggle with just reading the 10 pages. He's like, I've got all these books on my desk, on my table. I've got an Audible full of 100 titles or whatever, but I really struggle with just finding the time. And if you go back to the book, The Compound Effect, what Darren Hardy talks about, he says, all you need to do is take one small aspect of the thing that you want to do, the thing that you want to inject into your life, and make that one small change. And so for me, what it was for me reading book, because I like to read, but I haven't read anywhere near as much as I probably should have this year. And so for me, the 5 daily non-negotiables, I wanted to pick up a book and start reading. It was just a matter of, okay, where do I inject the time? How do I find the time to do this? It was in the mornings. And so my wife and I, we get up, we're usually up around 5:30. I was up at 4:30 this morning. I had a coaching call at 6 a.m. So, those Eastern time zones, it's just crazy. But, so I'm up at 4:30. I read my book. I picked up my book. I jumped in the shower. I had my coffee. I grabbed my book. I read my 10 pages. Instead of sitting down in my chair with my coffee and death scrolling through Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Flipboard and my email, instead of doing that, I just rewired and I said, okay, I'm going to take this device right here. I'm going to put it on the table beside me, and I'm going to pick up my book. The reward for me is going back to the death scrolling. Now, eventually I'm going to get rid of that. What I've actually started to do is I've gotten rid of death scrolling through social media and actually starting to look at certain news channels instead. Right. So what I do is I put the phone down.
That sounds like death scrolling too, bro.
Yeah, it could be, especially with the way the news is today. So it's just a matter of rewiring, reframing things. Okay. So get rid of the one thing and replace it with the other. Right. So all I had to do was just pick up the book. As far as the time blocking is concerned, when you're creating content and you're pushing it out, as you're getting people that actually follow you because they're connecting with the content. Something resonates with them that you've pushed out through your channel. And so they follow you. So for me, it's really easy to open up my Instagram and I see that person that's followed me. I connect with them there. Right. Hey, thanks so much for connecting with me. Do you remember when Twitter launched, like all the way back in 2006? I was an early adopter. I jumped onto that platform in 2007.
Yep.
One of the things, it was almost like a protocol of Twitter. When somebody followed you, you were supposed to, like this unwritten rule, supposed to DM them and thank them for connecting and having that conversation, that two-way conversation on that online platform. Somewhere along the way, we've lost that. Right. And so and I've lost it. I get people that follow me, that connect with me on Facebook. Really, if I don't recognize them, I don't typically accept their friend request. But you don't really have that much control over Instagram. People follow you. You can decide whether you're going to follow them back. The big thing is I need to identify, are they my niche market? If they're my niche market, I'm definitely going to have a conversation with them and see where they are in the path of home ownership, where they are in the path of renting, where they are in the path of as an entrepreneur? Are they looking for a coach? Are they looking to grow their business? So I'm going to have a conversation with them, and I'm going to ask them 2 questions. Hey, are you here for the content, or are you looking to grow your business? Hey, are you here for the really great content, or are you thinking about buying a home? Hey, are you here for the really great content, or have you got a house that you're thinking of selling? Right? We could be looking at it in terms of that context as well.
That's,
so
that's that whole play from setting up meetings and whatnot. Hey, is 9 a.m. Tuesday good, or would Wednesday be better?
Yeah, 100%.
Right, you basically give them 2 options. They got to answer one of them.
2 option close. And so what I love about that, if you're not watching this online, if you're listening to this on the podcast, on Spotify or wherever it is, I'm basically, what we're talking about and asking those 2 questions is kind of in the form of a flower, in the form of a tulip, right? So we've got this kind of 2 semicircles with a stem. I've had this conversation a bunch of times already this week. The one question about asking if they're there for the content is designed to get them in a roundabout way to come to the same point as the question of, are you looking to grow your business? Mm-hmm. So you're looking to grow your business, yes or no? That's a straight line to either yes or no. If it's a no, then you're basically going to revert back to the types of questions that you're going to ask about the content, right? So my goal is if they ask about, or if I ask about the content and they say, I'm just here for the content, my goal is to move them along that line and get them down to the same path where I can ask them that same question, right? Hey, are you open to a discussion about this? Are you open to this? Do you want to meet, right? So it's basically you're moving them along the same lines, but one line is a little bit loopier than the other. The other one's more of a straight line. The other one is more of a semicircle.
Yeah.
So,
it's a great question to ask people, because what it does is open up opportunity, right? It opens up conversation with people. And for everybody to understand, again, and first of all, we've got Kelly Scarr, who is a realtor and coach. We're talking about your daily battle, how to build a bigger, better, more profitable real estate business. And quite frankly, I'd say to anybody who's in any business, if you're an entrepreneur, especially in sales, small biz, this is all applicable to you. Right? Those DMs are people who are reaching out directly. Maybe they liked a video, maybe they followed you. Send them that DM, have that conversation. There's one of those 5 that you could potentially be having today, as Kelly just mentioned. Right? Yeah. Those convos are what take us to that opportunity of having more in-depth conversations with people, about learning more from other people, figuring out how to do it better. In doing that, we start to expand the opportunities we have. Now, you had mentioned something a moment ago about for yourself, that reward, and it could be that death scroll, right? Allowing yourself to get there. And the one thing that I would suggest to anybody, one, I love the fact that it's no longer the death scroll. It's like, let's go pick up the book. Yep. One thing that I'm always recommending, first thing you do in your day, open up your schedule, look at your goals, look at your gratitude journal, get that stuff out of the way, set the tone for your day. What did you accomplish yesterday? How close are you to getting to those goals that you want to achieve? Mark down what good is happening in your life. Now you're actually prepared and ready to take on the world and take on whatever life is going to throw at you today. Because let's be real, life's going to throw shit at you today, and you better be strong enough to handle it. If you're constantly doing the death scroll and looking what other people are doing, or forgive me, Kel, but looking at the negative news, to me, this is like, it's painting negativity. I, like you, have done the same, where I've shifted what that looks like. For me, a big shift that I've got that happens is that I actually go in and I'll look at the markets. So I'll actually see what's going on with the markets, the stocks, the ETFs, like what's happening out there money-wise. I just find it's a good way to sort of get my mind off of things. The other thing that I also do is I will also look at sports. So I'll find out what's going on in the NHL. I'll find out what's going on, in the MLB. To me, those are my 2 jams. I love football, baseball. I love hockey. I want to find out what's happening there. I might tap into football if I have to, not because I care, no joke, not because I care, but moreover, because I look and go, there wasn't enough news going on with baseball or hockey right now. I better go and read something. Right. But all of this, again, is putting us in a place where we are mentally preparing ourselves for our day. And then when it's like, okay, I'm going to look at my schedule, find out where I'm going, as opposed to, and this is where maybe we differ from what you were just saying there. Forgive me, to clarify, but I will not be reactive to the day. I try to maintain that proactive approach, right? That hands-on, I'm in full control of my time. I know where I need to be. And I mean, I could say that loosely or maybe very tight, where I'm very much in control, but of course it's predicated on what time was on the podcast with you. What time I'm on my coaching calls? What time does my son have to get to baseball tonight? right? There's
Yeah.
all these different things that say, hey, this is where you have to be and when you have to be there. What time am I doing my email? What time am I responding to those DMs? What time am I connecting with my 3 to 5 people? What time am I looking at my goals? So everything has a structure to it for the time that it happens. It may not look the same every day, but what it's doing is accomplishing a lot of what you're talking about as well, of getting these 5 non-negotiables done, getting the reach outs, helping me build a bigger, better, stronger business.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
I think the original question is, do I time block?
Well, that's kind of where I was going with it. Like, is it
100%.
blocked, or is it just kind of like it's happening and you know what needs to be done, but it's not necessarily with time?
No, I got a time block, man. I don't have time on my schedule not to. I have to be intentional with my time. If I said I'm going to post 3 times on social media, I'm laying out what the messaging is going to be at the beginning of the week. And then I've already decided how many reels am I posting? How many posts am I posting? How many stories am I posting? How many videos am I posting up on my YouTube? Like, I've already kind of mapped out exactly what it is that I'm going to do in order to be able to move the needle. And so it's very easy. All I've got to do is, if I haven't created the content already, it's about creating content, right? So that then becomes part of the day. If I'm going to be posting up three reels in a week, Monday is a shoot day. Right. Sunday.
So you'll block time ahead of time to get that done.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So that time is blocked. So then the only thing that really isn't time blocked, where I am a little bit more reactionary, because I don't do just 5 opens. I do far more than that.
Right.
Where I get strategic with things is who it is that I'm actually reaching out to. Right. So I've got a whole strategy and a plan and idea for my business moving through the rest of this quarter. And I want to reach out to people that are going to help me move that needle in terms of my business. And what that means is getting on stages. It means having conversations with people like you, with people like Andrew Foliato, with, potentially getting onto stages across Canada or down into the United States, right? And helping to kind of broadcast my message and what I would like to talk about, what I think is relevant, building the bigger, better, more profitable business. I love that title. I love the idea of it. Right. So there's strategy involved with the time blocking. It isn't just about, well, I'm going to block some time so I can reach out to 5 people. It's 100%. I'm reaching out to the people that connect with me on Facebook, on Instagram, on all of these social channels, but I'm also reaching out strategically to other people that are in my circle or just outside of my circle to see what kind of value I can bring to their event, to their podcast, to whatever it is.
How do you're doing all this reach out, you're getting all this stuff done. How do you keep a strong mindset on a daily basis? Staying disciplined in the face of it all. Like, and to kind of preface to that, or sort of set the stage on that, it really off the heels of what we're talking about here. However, if I take, some like real live examples, it could be ourselves, because we're real people running businesses and talking to people, and we're getting, shot down every single day by others and no. And then there's people that say yes. Much the same too. A lot of times with coaching clients, we'll have conversations around, well, I'm putting in the effort, but I'm not getting the results immediately. And that lack of immediate results makes it hard to stay motivated, makes it hard to stay resilient. How do you really stay disciplined through the ups, through the downs? No matter what the market's doing, no matter maybe what you're accomplishing, what you're not. I mean, you're getting stuff done. It just may not be given the end result that you're looking for. How do you stay focused?
Yeah, great question. I think a lot of it has to do with experience in this business. I've been kicked in the gonads enough times. You're driving down the street in your neighborhood and you see somebody that you spoke to 2 weeks ago and they've got a different sign in their yard. Like,
wait, so it happens to you too?
Yeah, oh yeah, man. Like, it used to when I was selling a lot of real estate. It definitely used to. So you get kicked enough times in the same spot, you're going to develop, steel balls, brass balls, right? Yep. And so I think there's a little bit of that experience. Speaking to the person, the guy or the gal that's 3 years in, 5 years in, whatever, this whole idea of, well, just keep doing what you're doing and eventually it'll pay off. My whole suggestion is, and this comes back to the whole discipline side of things. Number one, 100%, 1000% belief in what it is that you have to offer in terms of value. What is it that makes you different, that separates you from everybody else? If you have 1000% belief that's a great driver. That makes it really easy to get out of bed every day. That makes it really easy to make those calls and have those conversations, because you know that the value that you bring is so much more than what your competition is. And, like we prefaced this conversation before we went live, like, you and I are not competitors. We do not compete, right? The people that want to work with you are going to work with you because they know you, like you, trust you. And the same thing with me. I do not consider that competition. I would much rather collaborate with you, help you build your brand and elevate you, and you the same, and have this really great relationship, which we do,
what, and
right?
hence having you on the show today for sure. 100%, bro.
Yeah. And so, I think if you've got that one, that fervent belief in what it is that you do that is so much different and so much better than everybody else, that will help with your self-discipline. Coming back to this whole idea of, well, you just got to stay the course and eventually it'll pay off. Well, what is eventually? Like, how long are we talking about here? Until the bank account's drained?
Yep.
Until I'm completely out of money? Then what? Right? Well, hold on a second. Let's talk about some different strategies, because what you're doing currently is not working. Right? If you continue to stay the course, well, eventually this thing is going to pay off. Man, I've been through that so many times. It's painful to recount. I've learned so many lessons around that. Listen, what I've learned is if you can see it early on, pull the pin, get out and try something new, try something different. Right? So if look, you and I both know that door knocking works. Do we like it? No, we hate it.
Nobody does, but it works.
Nobody likes door knocking, but it works.
Yep.
So why don't we do it? Why don't we do more of it?
People don't like it.
People tell me, well, I want to farm a community. Great. What are you doing to farm the community?
Because it's so much easier to go spend money on online leads, Cal.
Right, exactly.
I don't have to do anything.
Or I'm going to post up this reel on Instagram and I'm going to get 167 views on it. I'm not going to get any comments. I'm not going to get any likes. I'm not going to get anybody, messaging me, but I'm going to create the content. Really? Okay. Well, continue to create the content. Like, how long are you going to continue to do that until it pays off? What's your commit level of 10 years, 5 years? 5 years, you'll be out of the business, bro. Yep. Like, you won't have any money left.
Yep.
Right. So again, how we started this conversation is getting back to those fundamentals, doing the things that we know work. Pick up the bloody phone and call your sphere of influence. Geez, I look at my phone. I've got thousands of contacts in there, thousands of people in my phone. I'm sure you're the same way.
Yeah.
Start smiling and dialing.
But what do I say?
Oh, that's really easy. Hey, David, how's it going, man? It's Kelly calling from ABC Realty. Hey, man, we haven't talked in a long time. How are you?
How are you? Exactly. Too simple. Yeah. Too simple,
That's it.
Man. We overcomplicate all of this stuff. I am so with you there. People make it way too difficult to find the successes they want. Now, as you talked about, because you were selling real estate for a bunch of time.
I'm actually still licensed. I'm still licensed in Calgary. And
listen, I've been licensed for 18 years or something. I just haven't had enough time to go and focus in on it based on building other businesses, bigger, better, and stronger. But as you were doing that, though, if you go back in time, as you're really focused on that, because I know, again, now it's about the coaching, it's about the training. What would you say back then? Because I know there's a lot of people that are still going through a lot of different stuff, but I'm curious to know, for you, your biggest daily battle when you started out, and kind of what you did to get past it.
Yeah, well, first of all, I had no idea what to do. I got licensed in 2007. My very first deal was with my brothers. I got licensed in August of 2007. I sold 3 houses. I went full-time into, 100% commission sales in April of 2008. I was going to get fired from my trades job anyways.
Yep.
So, I was like, well, I'm going to go out on my terms. I'm not going to go out on theirs. So convinced my wife, and, we were like, all I got to do is 8 deals. I got 8 months left in the year. I'm going to do a deal a month and we'll be good. Right. 2009 rolls around, and now, the world's in the middle of an economic collapse. Nobody's really sure what the heck is going on. Nobody's sure about the market. Interest rates have gone up, sales have dropped off. And here I am out there hustling. I've got 1-year-old twins, and I'm out there doing open houses every single weekend, every Saturday, every Sunday. And so I developed a system around open houses, and open houses is what kept us fed. I went from 8 deals in 2008 to 24 deals in 2009. I tripled my deal count inside of a year in the worst economic crisis of our generation. How did I do that? I outworked my competition. I developed a system. I got really good at putting the system out there. And on top of that, I got really good with my scripting. I got really good with closing people inside the home. Right. So it got to a point where I would start doing these open houses in 2008. I'd come home and my wife would be like, hey, did you sell the house? I'm like, nah, I didn't sell the house today. Didn't really have anybody come through. Didn't really sell the house. 2009 rolls around. I'd come home from an open house on the Sunday after having done one on the Saturday as well. She's like, how many clients did you pick up this weekend? Right. Her mindset.
Oh, I just want to make a realization right there for a moment, though. Okay, because those are two very different questions, and I understand what's going on, but I'm reading into the depths of that right now. First of all, and this really comes back to, for everybody else, progress over results, which has been kind of this running theme, Kelly, that I've been talking about a lot over the past few shows here. Progress over results. Are you doing what you need to do to actually get the results? She asked you how many deals did you do? She then changed.
Did you sell the house? She said.
Pardon me. Did you sell a house? There we go.
Yeah.
End game. Then it shifted to how many clients did you pick up?
That's right.
Right. And that wasn't about selling the house. That was about, again, my own mind is going, that's building more rapport. That's getting contact info. Right. That's creating a relationship. That's creating an opportunity to sell the house.
Yeah. And look,
different mindset.
If you're struggling right now, I'm not saying go out and do a bunch of open houses. What I'm saying is get back to the fundamentals of whatever lead source that you were tying into and get really good at those things. If you don't have a system around open houses or online lead generation or Instagram or geo farming, you need to build out a system. You have to have something that keeps you regimented.
That's right.
Like too many times. So, you talk about, I answered your question. I said, I didn't know what to do. And that's 100% accurate. When I wake up in the morning on a Monday, get into the office on a Monday, I would stare blankly at my computer screen going, okay, now what? Right. When I went full-time in the business, I didn't have a business plan. I had no idea about business. I had no clue. Right. And so when I started, talking to mentors and some trainers and stuff in my office, they were all the people that were doing the most business. Everybody had a plan. They knew exactly what they were going to do on Monday morning when they got to the office. And that really revolves around understanding what your lead pillars are and then building out a system so that system gets plugged into your calendar. Exactly what we were talking about earlier, time blocking.
Yeah, man.
Right. If I've got a system around open houses, the system isn't going and setting a sign out in front of the friggin' house on Saturday morning and then going and sitting it from 1 to 3 on Saturday afternoon. Right. I've got an entire system that goes from Monday through to Saturday. And every single day, there's 1 hour worth of work that goes into that successful open house. Right. Like we've got to
building MindShare as part of that. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got to start thinking about our business as a business. This is exactly what it is.
What's fantastic though? Sorry, as you talk about like the systems and you talk about the things that you can do, I know we've brought up the word online lead gen a few times. And again, it's something that I'm always knocking from a paid perspective, just because I believe it's very expensive. It's very arduous. I believe most people don't do it properly. They don't work the system. And therefore it's a tougher go. Whereas I do believe, which we've brought up a few times now, open houses and door knocking, both are very, very good pillars that people can have because it cuts out the middleman of, call it this, the screen, the distance that you have of connectivity. It puts you right there with each other in that moment. And it just, to me, it cuts down the amount of time. And I wanted to emphasize that because for everybody tuned in again, understand that as we're talking with Kelly about, again, building a bigger, better, more profitable real estate business, he's talking about systems. He's telling you got to systematize. It's not just show up and just sit there, but it's have a process into what you're going to be doing. And as we talk about what to be doing, it's connecting with people. You brought that up with the 5 non-negotiables. We brought that up in the different ideas of generating the opportunities. We brought that up in how many clients did you connect with as opposed to how many houses did you sell? Get closer to people, you get closer to the opportunity that you ultimately want. Now, Kelly, as you bring this up too, and we talk about systems, content creation, open houses, door knocking, time blocking, goals, you name it. How important, or maybe I'll say, do you think that everybody should be working towards or go at it right away to have an admin as part of their team, as part of their business?
That's a great question. That really comes back to, so my coach, Dan Martell, wrote a book. It's called Buy Back Your Time. And he talks about this a lot, and he's got this thing where it's the scripting that I gave you at the beginning of the pod, we're talking about, those 2 questions. Are you here for the content? You're looking to grow your business. That's a whole thing called sell by chat. Now, he didn't come up with it. I think Taki Moore was actually the guy that came up with this whole process of actually selling to people through social media, through online chat.
Dan does a great job with it. And I know it's not Dan doing it. He's got a team of people, but he's all over it. When you do click on something, bang.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like when the way that he sold me was through sell by chat, and it was through email. And, I got, multiple emails from him. I think I was like 4 emails deep, and I asked him specifically, hey, is this actually Dan, or is this somebody on his team? It took him about a day to respond. He got back to me. He's like, no, it's totally me. I just, hence the time delay in getting back to you. Now, a lot of people are like, well, no, he doesn't do that. He doesn't have the time to it. Dude, he wrote the book, Buy Back Your Time. Of course he's got time to do this kind of stuff. Of course he has time to jump into his DMs on Instagram and, get back to people and follow people and do all of these things, because he's invested the time to actually buy back what's most precious to him. So, when we talk about an admin, what I would say to that is this. Number one, I think you've got to be at a certain income level to be able to justify the expense. If you've got an MRR, a monthly recurring revenue of $10,000 a month, and you got to pay taxes on that. So that's $3,000 off the top, and it costs you $6,000 a month to live. Well, that only leaves you $1,000 at the end of the day to put into your business. Now, are you going to spend that on an executive assistant? Probably not, because that executive assistant is going to be 5 to 6 to 7 times that amount, right? So number one, first and foremost, you have to have the revenue capacity to be able to support somebody like that. Number two, if you are looking at an admin of some kind and you really feel like you need somebody, I would definitely look at a virtual assistant to take off some of the things that you don't need to be focused on. So one of the things that I've outsourced, and this is, one of the notes that I've actually made, I did make some notes prior to jumping on the call. Outsourcing is a great way to buy back a lot of your time. Mm-hmm. I still love to edit video, and the reels, some of the reels and stuff that you see on my Instagram, I edit a lot of those because it only takes me like an hour to do it. Now, if I were coaching myself, I'd be like, yeah, but your hour's worth $275 an hour. Right. So you don't want to pay somebody $45 to edit that reel to save yourself $235 an hour. Like, what's wrong with you? Right. My thing is I usually do that sort of thing in the evening when I'm kind of already in that downward trend, kind of getting ready for the rest of the evening and, potentially heading to bed in like an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I pick my time. I pick my videos wisely. I engage the services of a VA for certain things that I know are going to take me a hell of a lot of time that I don't have and that somebody else can do much quicker than me. So I 100% believe in administrative help. I 100% believe in getting that support. 1000% believe in buying back your time. But I think ultimately it comes down to how much are you actually earning every single month? And can you support that EA? Can you support that other person? And if you can't at this level, at this point right now, then you've got to look for alternatives. And I think the good alternatives would be going to a site like Upwork, identifying where your needs are, and going about finding somebody on that platform to help you advance, take some of the stuff off your plate so you can focus on the other things that are going to actually generate more revenue, which will then eventually turn into a point where you can actually afford to hire that executive assistant, right? So start where you can is basically what I'm saying.
Okay. And you know what? It's a fair response. Because I was going to say to you, what happens if people say, well, I just can't afford, or what happens if people say, well, I'm just not ready? And my belief always is, look, and I know you did use the word expense on it, and I could see how it could be an expense. I look at it as it's an investment. However, it does depend on your financial situation, I guess, to put that fairly, to say, hey, where are you at right now? Because if you can't afford, then it's certainly an expense. Much the same if you can figure out what kind of dollars you have to be able to put towards it. We always talk about the starting point being figure out what it is you want somebody to do as well, then try to find the right person. At that point, it does become an investment because you got a great person working with you, helping you, freeing up some of the time. That time can be focused on other income producing activities, other non-negotiables that you need to do in your day. So I believe that there's something there that most people should be looking into. However, again, fair statement there, it does come back to affordability. And of course, the
Yep.
depths of that becomes on things that you and I probably, I assume you do. Both of us work with our clients on business plans and marketing
Right.
plans and actual structures and systems. And what are you doing to generate biz, and how much is coming in, and where else can we go and invest to, again, build this bigger, better, more profitable real estate business.
Right.
Now, as we talk about a starting point, I guess, what would you say to anybody, like anybody who is looking to build bigger, better, and stronger, more profitable? No matter where they're at in their career right now, they're 5 to 10 years in, they're 25 years in, they are 5 days in. Where do you recommend they kind of look at today to go, let me take this bird's eye. Let me sort of refocus what I'm doing and find out what I could be doing to maybe be better.
Yeah. So I think if, you know, it doesn't matter whether I speak to an agent that's a year in the business, 5 years in the business, 25 years in the business. Like I've identified about 90% of the agents that, and brokers, to be honest with you, do not have a business plan when they start working with me.
Yeah.
Right. So that would be the number one thing. If you don't have a business plan, that is the number one thing that you need to start doing, is actually looking at planning your business. And it isn't just, I'm going to write this thing and I'm going to stick it in a drawer and I'm not going to look at it again. What you should be doing is actually reviewing it. My belief is on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, and then rewriting on a biannual basis, right? So identify where your leads are coming from. How many were buyers? How many were sellers? How much money did you make from each one of those lead sources? And then identify what the system was that you utilized to actually generate the lead and generate the business. Now, if you're able to do that, you're going to wind up seeing gaps in your systems. You're going to wind up seeing places or parts of the system that didn't actually work, things that you wound up deploying that didn't actually work for you. Let's say, you know, you're running a postcard campaign and you've been doing it for 24 months and it actually hasn't worked for you. Well, when we do the further analysis of that, what were we doing to support the postcard campaign? Nothing. Oh, well, that's probably why it wasn't working.
I love the
right?
fact that you bring up this word support. It's such a big message that we've got, right? What are you doing to support it? Sorry, keep going. If I apologize.
Yeah, no. So it's a matter of just identifying each system, looking for where the gaps are, looking for where the system is lacking the support that it needs, and then being able to find the person that can lend that support. If that person is you, great. We need to map this out just a little bit better. Once we have all of that figured out, my assertion is we need to innovate, right? We need to put some sort of an innovation into each one of our lead sources into our business plan. And innovation doesn't mean like launching a friggin' rocket into space and catching it with like these two fingers.
I think that's pretty damn cool what he's been done.
That was so cool, dude.
So cool.
It was mind blowing to see that, right? That isn't what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about.
Oh, okay. So it's a lot easier than that, you're saying, Kelly.
Yeah, it's way easier, right? So what I'm talking about innovation wise is it isn't something that's never been done. It's something that you've never done.
Right. Okay,
right. So
cool,
something inside of the system that you've never, like video, for example, right? Oh, well, you know, we've got our SOI, sphere of influence. We've never done video with our sphere of influence. We've never sent them a piece of content before. Okay, well, let's start shooting some content. Let's put it up on a YouTube channel. Let's start sending some links out. Oh, by the way, guess what? I've never actually done email marketing before with my SOI. Okay, maybe that's an innovation, something that I've got to go learn. I've got to get instruction on and figure out how to actually do this, right? So yes, have the plan. If you're removing things, how can you innovate? And this is again, what I was talking about earlier. Continuing to do the same thing, thinking that there's going to be a payoff eventually, is only going to get you further to broke, right? So look at the people around you that are doing some great things, that are actually generating business in these down markets. Study them, understand, take them out for coffee, pick their brain, have these conversations. Hey, what are you doing? How did you did open houses this weekend? Yeah. How many clients did you pick up? I got like 8 buyers. What? How did you get 8 buyers? Oh, well, I've got this whole system mapped out. By the way, I know exactly how to conduct myself inside an open house. I know how to direct people through the open house. I know the right questions to ask. I know how to get them over to the kitchen island. I know how to get their name, their phone number, their email address. I know how to get them into my database. That's how I got 8 potential new buyers this weekend. Right? But most agents don't think that way. They don't think systematically.
And it's amazing. It's the systematization. It's also the connection with other people. Again, it keeps going full circle back to that. Have the conversations, ask the questions. You're going to learn something that you didn't know that you can learn about right now, that you can find out, how can I do better? It's going to come, right? But it comes through asking questions with people. That's one of the biggest pieces here. Now, you're talking about the tracking, you're talking about the look back to the deals. This is something that we do with our coaching clients regularly, where we've got our business plans, our marketing plans, we've got our deal trackers. We are looking at the source of every single deal. Then we're reviewing the marketing plan and we're going, okay, what are we doing for marketing? Where are we investing our dollars? Is that what's actually providing us return? Or we've got our dollars going to this thing, there's no return coming from that. Maybe we've got to adjust, cut that. This is about systematizing. This is about processes. That's exactly what it comes down to. And this is, again, this is the type of stuff that I believe everybody needs to fully understand. I mean, would you say that is the one biggest piece of advice that you'd wish you'd been given off the top of starting in this business? Or is there something else you might suggest to that?
I would 100%, because that dictates everything else. It dictates the daily discipline. Say that 3 times fast. It dictates the daily discipline, right? If you've got a plan and you come into the office on a Monday morning and you open up your laptop, you should know exactly what it is that you're doing. If I had known exactly what it was that I was doing, man, I'll tell you, I would be willing to bet that I would have advanced farther in a very short period of time, right? As opposed to, I think I did all right. Like, I tripled my business. I continued with that, those same amount of deals for those, the next 3 years, until I broke through in 2012, where I, doubled the amount of transactions that I did from the year previous. So, and then it was just a continual upward trajectory from there. I will answer. So I answered the question, basically those 1, 5, 10, 15, 25-year agents that don't have a business plan. Okay, so let me answer the question if you do have a business plan. Let me answer the question if you're doing 50 deals a year. Let me ask you this. Do you have, to circle back, do you have an administrative assistant? Do you have an EA? Like, I remember interviewing Sarah Kalki years ago on a podcast that I had with a former company. And, she, solo agent, 100 transactions a year, 3 assistants, no buyer's agents, does all the deals herself. Every single listing that she takes, every single buyer that she works with. And she had 3 assistants. She had a transaction coordinator, an assistant to look after the listing side, an assistant to look after the business or the buyer's side, right? How in the world was she able to still have a life, go ride her horses, spend time with her child, her husband, and sell 100 homes in a year? How is that possible, right? How did she go from 50 to 100? It was by leveraging and buying back your time. So you want to build a bigger, better business. You're at 50 transactions and you're doing everything. It's time to start mapping out how you can go out and hire yourself an assistant that can take the minutia of your day off of your plate, so you can then focus on the things that you're really good at. And what are agents really good at? They're really great at building and fostering relationships, and they're really great at selling a shit ton of homes. That's where we need the focus. Strong messages, brother. Strong messages, man. Dude, I'm watching the clock here. I know time is running out over here for today. But this has been, Kelly, this has been fantastic, man. Again, to everybody, we got Kelly Scar, realtor and coach, on the show here today. We're talking about your daily battle. How to build a bigger, better, more profitable real estate business. I think you and I are going to need to pick this up again on another episode and continue this conversation, because I think it's, there's a lot of similar views that we both share. There's a lot of similar sort of approaches that we take to this. And I think the reinforcement to anybody, and this is, look, Kel, this is why we come back to you. Why do you read? I know for me, why I read very specifically is one, overall, it's food for the brain. It's helping me understand that I'm not the only one. It's helping me realize that most people who've gotten somewhere, anywhere, some sort of success, have all taken a very similar path, just with a different story to it all, right? Yeah. But it's all very similar steps.
And as we sit here talking about systems, we talk about connecting with people, we talk about tracking, we talk about goals, we talk about reading and staying off of the social and all the other negative stuff. Again, there's a lot of similar processes here. And to anybody who says that they can't do, it's very self-inflicted. Now, in saying all of that, as we talk about all the successes today, at the end of your day, how do you know it's been a successful day for you?
That's a great question, man. Well, number one, so I've got notebooks for everything. Like there's like the last 3 books on my shelf there. Those are all notebooks. And then I've got a bunch of books that I've read and some that I haven't. And then on my desk, I've got even more notebooks. And so I've got notebooks for coaching. I've got notebooks for ideas. I've got notebooks for my own coach and the coaching calls that I go on. I'm constantly writing. I have not only my 5 daily non-negotiables on my tasks app, but I also write down what I'm going to accomplish through the day. Do I have it on my calendar? Yes, 100%. But there's something that happens with me. Those endorphins just start to stream through the body and through the brain when I cross something off the list. I physically take my pen and I go, eat, and it's done, right? So I know that with the lists that I make for myself, success isn't measured in knocking everything off of the list. Success for me is measured in, am I knocking things off of the list that are going to continually move the needle and that are going to have that compound effect that by the end of the month, it's going to look very, very different on that thing than it did at the beginning of the month. So that for me is a success. The other thing that's successful for me, I feel like I've had a successful day, is when everybody's at home and everybody's in the house and everybody's doing their own thing we're all just kind of hanging out like we did on the weekend. We played cards, we played spoons, we played Uno. Sabrina and I had a couple glasses of wine. We had a blast with our kids over the weekend. And man, I'll tell you, it's getting harder and harder to do that at 16 years old. It's not easy, right? But those are a couple of the things I guess I look at to determine whether I've had a successful day or not, is the tiny things that I know I need to do in order to be able to move the needle, like health, like, knowledge, like, building a brand, all of these things. Am I doing the right things? Am I doing them to be able to move the needle? And then, ultimately my family, right? Making sure that I'm not losing my mind and screaming my face off. Everybody's happy and healthy and at home, and we're where we need and want to be. That's
Dude,
success.
You didn't say the word money.
I didn't.
So we're still batting 1,000 on this show with that question.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm telling you, man, we love to ask that question at the end of the show. It's amazing how many people talk about family. They talk about helping others. I love what you're saying about crossing stuff off. To me, that's the whole trigger, action, reward. That's how we build positive habits. People don't understand. It's like that little bit of that tap on the back where everybody goes like, you will always be told. So quick one, Albert Einstein did 10 math equations back in the day. You've heard this one before. Did 10, purposely did the 10th one incorrect, and everybody started mocking him. And he turned to everybody and goes, it's amazing. I did all these 9 equations that were so perfect and like totally hard that nobody else could do. Nobody said anything. The 10th one was wrong, and everybody decided to talk about it. Most of the time when you screw up, people will tell you screwed up. When you do well, people don't say shit about it. You need to take opportunity to be able to reward yourself and recognize for yourself that you did well. To you, that's crossing that off. To me, that used to be crossing it off. Now it's digital. So I gray it out. I mark it complete. I go to the goal tracker. I track it in the goals. It is the same thing. It is crossing it off. And I know there are people tuned in right now that the reinforcement of that message is totally important. I think for everybody, it's important. Recognize what you won. Recognize what you accomplished. Progress over results. Reward yourself at every minute of the day. Every single day will always be a win. Awesome, Kelly, where can people find you? Any final words of wisdom? Where can people find you? Let us know. I know you got to get out of here as well.
Yeah, no, they can follow me on Instagram at Kelly Skar, KELLEYSKAR is my primary channel right now. So they can find me there.
Cool, man. Well, listen, dude, again, as always, a major thank you for joining us today. Always great conversation with you, whether it's just you and me on the phone or obviously doing it publicly with everybody on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube today. Of course, available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts everywhere. My man, Thank you. We will continue this conversation for sure.
100%.
Appreciate you joining us on the episode today.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, brother. Talk to you shortly.
All right.
You're either listening to this on one of your favorite podcast platforms, or maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to learn more about our one-to-one coaching, group training, and keynote speaking. Of course, download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle so you can build more mindshare and get even more market share. For all inquiries, just get in touch with us today. And don't forget, of course, please, to leave a review of this podcast at www.ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. Again, a big 5 stars, a nice little review. We'd be super grateful. Of course, if you haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook and TikTok at Mindshare101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan 101. I want to take a very quick moment to say thank you to both Kits Keep in Touch Systems and REM Real Estate Magazine for being our sponsors. This has been another episode of the MindShare podcast. Thank you for tuning in.